Hey NAI football fans, Corey Thorpe here with another edition of the NAIFBALL Podcast, powered by AdCraft USA, your custom apparel, merch, and uniform experts. Our friends at AdCraft have been with us for many years now. They've run web stores for us multiple times. These guys are NAI fans and family who are experts in the apparel and merchandise world. AdCraft allows you to take the hassle out of ordering. Let their knowledgeable design and customer service staff handle everything from hosting the store online, shipping the product, and helping your customers so you can get back to the game. Find them online at adcraftusa.com. All right, NAI football fans, this is Corey Thorpe back with another edition of the NAIF Ball Podcast, powered by AdCraft Custom Apparel and Merch, your custom apparel and merch expert since 1974. And today we have, every coach is a joy to have on, and it's a privilege to talk to every one of them. But I love when we get to this point of the season, when we're in late April, early May, and we start to get into your national runners-up and your national champs. That's always a whole lot of fun. And today, whenever you're listening to this, we have Coach Socha from Keiser University. Coach, how you doing?
I'm great, man. I appreciate you having us on, and look forward to visiting with you here for a little while.
Well, Coach, usually when we chat and have chatted in years past, it's been high. The temperatures have been highly authentic for me to wear my Kaiser jacket. Today, I had to crank the air conditioner way the heck down in order to make the Kaiser jacket work. Um, I will say, there is a Weber shirt underneath here. I at least had to keep it in conference.
Yeah. Well, there you go. That's all right. I mean, we appreciate you repping us, and look forward to talking to you here, man.
Honestly, this is my favorite jacket. I wear it dang near every day.
There you go. We got some more coming for you then, man.
Heck yeah. So, Coach, it was a highly successful season, to put it mildly, for Kaiser. Um, I remember back to September, and that post game chat that you had with your team after that loss to Valdosta State, who you're playing again, which I really like because that means I can get up to see y'all again. And y'all had talked about being a championship ball club. Was it by that point, or was it somewhere along the way that you realized, huh, you know what? We actually really could make a really deep run.
I think we felt like we had a really good, talented group of guys in our locker room, and I just think it took some time for us to figure out exactly what our identity was going to be. But so I wouldn't say, obviously that outcome wasn't what we wanted it to be. We competed, we gave ourselves a chance, but then we didn't give ourselves a chance in other parts of it. And then if you fast forward a couple more weeks, I would have really kind of questioned what was going on, because we absolutely did not show up to Mississippi College. And then, we went up to Lindenwood and just did not have a good showing. So I think those were some of the forming moments of what our locker room was going to really become. And we were going through a lot of adversity at that time.
What was the temperature of the team like, especially after that Lindenwood game? Was it, were you hardening kind of like an egg in boiling water, or did you really have to rally the troops and keep the morale up?
I think anytime you go through a time like we did, we lost 3 in a row. We lost to Valdosta, we lost to Mississippi College, and we lost to Lindenwood, and we were 1-4 at the time. And I think at any point, I'm certain there were some doubts and some questioning, but there was so much evidence of how close we were, and we just kept preaching. Look at this. If you just step in this direction, correctly, or if you just, use this technique correctly. And even from a coaching staff, if we could, we took a self-inventory of how we were coaching our football team. So I think, looking back at it, we just kept preaching, hey, we're just going to keep showing up to work. We've got a good football team here. Our record is just no indication of what we are, but that's what we are at this moment. So we just had to stay humble And I think our football team really bought into that. And I think our team just had great character. And in the end, they really proved me and they proved our coaching staff right, because we felt we had a really good team. Certainly I'm sure people in the outside, which means nothing to us, started, wondering and doubting, what were they doing scheduling these teams. But, we had a method to our thought process and what we wanted to get done.
To be fair, and I understand that the Raiders and therefore the coaches have a system that they have to follow, but I'm gonna sit here and tell you that at 1-3, even after that bye week after Lindenwood, we never had you any lower than 15th. We we had not yet given up. So and like I said, there's constraints to how the coaches have to do things, and so I understand dropping a team out of a poll at 1-3, but I can still say that with a smile on my face.
I appreciate that. And, we have had conversations, and I think since then we've had a conversation at the national convention about, we don't really have a formula in place on how you really, judge a Sun Division team versus a Gulf South Conference team, Valdosta, or a Lindenwood team that just went to FCS with significantly more scholarships. And I just think that, we probably opened some people's eyes in terms of, hey, you better, realize that, these teams that are taking on these, it shouldn't hurt them as much as it did. And you look at certain other teams, in Concordia at one point, I think, played an FCS team and maybe a Division II team. And I tried to stay consistent with, I did not hurt anybody significantly if they lost to a team that's above. Because I think all the coaches, especially the Raiders, should know the difference between a Division II scholarship model and an NAIA scholarship model, and certainly an FCS 63 scholarship model. The non-scholarship, there's a little bit of a gray area with that when you see some of these other teams that are FCS non-scholarship. But, I think, we really probably opened some people's eyes to that, and we've had discussions and conversations. And I think, there's a lot of respect, and I certainly have a lot of respect for the teams that choose to play those teams above them.
That's been a huge talking point over this offseason, and I've had multiple coaches mention it, that the way that NCAA games are rated, and are taken into account, to y'all's credit, because of what y'all did in the playoffs and the road that you had to hoe, and the fact that you hoed it with ease, has really opened the eyes. Do you think that other information, maybe like SP Plus, ESPN, and that kind of efficiency modeling, do you think that information could be helpful to the coaches to try to assimilate information across different levels, as like I said, SP Plus now has all 4 levels rated out?
Yeah. I think there's got to be a system in place, or a system put in place. But I also think that if you're a Raider, you have a massive responsibility to understand what is going on. And I think when I became a Raider, I probably didn't understand the responsibility that I had as a Raider. And then as I looked at it, and I've got guys on my staff that we keep a Google Drive and we monitor every conference. And before I rank, I talk to my staff and I look at all the data of who played who, what, their strength of schedule. And, there's these ARC meetings, and I learned a lot from being on the ARC committee and looking at strength of schedule. And, I think there's just a lot of responsibility as a Raider to understand that, there's a difference between Keiser University and Valdosta from a scholarship model and a just even a tuition rate, and their roster models and tradition. A school like that's Titletown. I mean, we've been on the earth for 5 years. They've won 5 national titles at least. So, those types of things. But I think as a Raider, you have to have, you know, the utmost respect for having that position as a Raider. And I think the Raiders, you know, we learned a lot this year, you know, in looking at it and in all of our conversations. And we had an end of the year meeting at the national convention. I think that was really good for us.
So going through the rest of the schedule, I mean, it's you're basically you have two close games for effectively the rest of the year. The 36-31 game against St. Thomas, which, to be fair, was a beautiful, beautiful game. Two teams that love to run the football, albeit in slightly different ways. Um, you know, and both went off on the running game too. Burgess went for $175. Rontavious Farmer went for $189. You know, no one really had a huge turnover advantage in that game that I can remember. Both of you throw two picks. Let me make sure. Yeah, none of you fumbled the football, so it's just a really, really tight game, played very evenly between the two of you. And then Ave Maria, who no one believes me when I say that Ave Maria is can give people fits, but here we are. I guess it's the camo helmets. The people can't see them coming. But talk about the rest of that Sun Conference slate and getting through and managing after three obviously difficult games and getting your confidence back there.
Yeah, I think it was a matter of, you know, we went through that and then we had a bye week and we were able to have really good practices. And that's probably when I started realizing, hey, this team really has solid character and they're going to show up to work. And, you know, we just need to go out and get back on the winning side of this thing and play more consistently, execute at a higher level, but keep showing these guys evidence of the good and bad. And, you know, that St. Thomas game was a special game just because, you know, we were down, we overcame a deficit. That game was just explosive play after explosive play. If you take away one of their long runs, their back goes for under 100 yards, I think. If you take away our back's one long run, he's under 100 yards. So there were some errors there probably on the defensive side for both of us. But it was a hard-fought game. There was a little bit of weather. And, you know, we were just able to just keep battling in that game and found a way to win. And I think that's the character of our team and program. And then Ave Maria, they're so well coached. They will challenge, they'll challenge anybody in the country. And you know, certain days they show up and they're really well coached. I have a lot of respect for what they do there. And they're a good football team and, you know, able to get through the rest of our schedule. But I just felt like our team kept improving on a daily basis, on a weekly basis. And we had some adversity that we dealt with. Certainly there are certain pivotal points that I can look back, you know, the St. Thomas game and some explosive plays that we had to create, a kickoff return that put us in position to win it at the end, a long run, you know, that we were able to get to win the game. And then, you know, a fourth down stop against Ave, another turnover that we created against Ave. There are critical points in this season that I look back and say, yeah, this team really had great character, and because it could have bounced a whole nother direction, and all of a sudden we may not even made the playoffs just by the hole that we had put ourselves in with the rankings. And, you know, to just keep getting better and keep getting better. And, you know, we got through the rest of our schedule, and then, you know, we got the bid and we went on the road and got to the playoffs and then went on a good run.
And I'll be honest with you, I was keeping up with that Bethel game, that first round of the playoffs. You know, obviously I wasn't gonna. I'm a bit of a cheapskate. I'm not gonna pay for Bethel stream if I can listen to it on the on a radio broadcast. I'm on record. It's on YouTube somewhere in the depths of our playlists of me going on a live watch along going, oh guys, I don't know that Keiser can come back from this one. This is you know, they're not exactly the score extremely fast on a consistent basis kind of team. I was wrong. I was very wrong. 20 points in the fourth quarter proves me very wrong. Um, what I really want to focus in on, though, is that Morningside game going in, and obviously Morningside doesn't have Dolanchek in that game, but you don't have Shea Spencer. Um, you know, coming out of that, especially for next season, where Shea does get hurt in the national championship game, and it's something that he may or may not be able to be 100% for by the start of the season. How much? What does that playoff experience do for a guy like Bryce Veasley?
Well, I think it does a lot for the whole program, and it speaks volumes. And I've told our team this whole spring, hey, we have a new team. This 2023 team that we have is going to be new. There are a lot of faces coming back. We're only going to reflect on how good and special that 2022 team is that we can learn from. And you look at that Bethel game, like you said, and that thing's just about over. At the end of the third quarter, it's 17-7. We're not doing anything on offense. Our defense is keeping us in the game. They go on a drive down to the 4-yard line. Next thing you know, we get a turnover on downs, and then we go on a 96-yard drive. Tons of character there. The rest is history, 20 points in that quarter. We go to Morningside, play the number one team in the country, and I look up, and it's the end of the first quarter. It's 21-3, and we're down, and I'm in shock. Like, this thing's about to get out of control. And again, the character of our team, the calmness of our team, the poise, finds a way to get a stop. Shea goes down, Veasley comes out, and runs the offense, and we start chipping away and coming back. And it was a really good battle. They're obviously the number one team for a reason at that time. And we were able to just keep battling, and our team just never lost any faith in itself. The quarterback, there was no lost faith that Shea was out. There was a moment in that game where Jalen Arnold went down, and then he was able to come back, and he was able to help us turn that game around with a big 70-yard catch, to seal it. And then just a character win for our team, and just the belief in that locker room was so special. They were not. Things had to bounce our way. We had to get the right stops. Their quarterback was out. Our quarterback was out. Each team was just trying to figure out how to win the game. And we just were able to have enough time in that game to get it done. But again, for me, it goes back to our paths that we have came down with the character. So I always tell our team about, we're going to reflect on the character, the resiliency, the toughness, and just their mindset and belief in each other and the brotherhood in that locker room.
It's definitely a good takeaway there. You do start really fast in this upcoming season, or you're gonna have to. Your first three games are going to be doozies. You host Mississippi College, and then you've got back-to-back games, albeit with a bye week, I believe, in the middle of that. No, I just can't add. Yeah, no, I just can't add. Of Lindsey Wilson and Valdosta State before getting into the meat of your Sun Conference roster, hosting new team Thomas University, who I will point out certain other football teams have not yet beaten Thomas University, so just gonna stick that out there.
Mm-hmm.
Talk to me about
hopefully Hillary's listening to
this. Talk to me about starting fast next year.
Yeah, again, I think it's got to come down to a changed mindset. And we went into last year with this thought that we can be a certain thing, and we get hit in the face. Uncertainty going to Valdosta, compete, don't show up at Mississippi College, in my opinion, good football team, great, disciplined football team. We just didn't give ourselves a chance to even challenge them. And then Lindenwood, again, I don't think we showed up with the right, frame of mind, and they're good. And they're definitely, they just have more players than us. But we just didn't show up to give ourselves a chance. So our mindset has got to change, from here on out. And really, it's already changed in terms of our approach to those games and the importance of coming out and, having a certain mindset, having a certain expectation. I put it on our team and I put it on our leaders that there's a massive responsibility of focus and development here. And we're all about having a great spring, which we just finished up. We've got a newcomer Zoom later tonight with all of our signees. And then, we're about to enter into like halftime of our off season. And then we're going into summer, and the summer is going to be critical, of our development, our mindset. And guys are going to have to really help lead that. And but certainly, that's what we signed up for. We want Mississippi College to come to us. We're fired up to go back to Valdosta State and fired up to go on the road to go play a top team in Lindsey Wilson and go to a place that we've never even competed when we've been in that stadium.
So let's talk about your team and who you've got coming back in 2023. You do have two returning all-conference offensive linemen in Scarlett Jean and Salah Lalogo. You're returning Jaden Meisinger at the running back position and a whole host of guys that were not the main focus of the offense in 2023, or in 2022, rather. Talk to me about missing as little of a beat as possible with some new pieces in the mix.
Yeah, I think we've got a lot of guys that are coming back that have experience, but certainly there's going to be some new guys scoring touchdowns and different, faces that we've heard for so long with Burgess and Jalen Arnold and some of those guys. And but Jaden Meisinger is an all-conference type player. He's a 1,000-yard back. He can carry the workload. There'll be some other guys behind him that are going to have to step up because it can't be a one-man show. Obviously our quarterback position, we've got some good competition there. We got Bryce Beasley coming back. Justin Wake is coming back. Shea Spencer, obviously coming off of an injury. We'll see how that shakes out. And there's some others that are going to probably, show up as well. And then, the offensive line, really excited about, Salah coming back and Scarley and Iggy Alvera from Gainesville, Georgia, and Chris Wennard. And there's a handful of guys there on the line of scrimmage that are going to be back. And but there will be some new faces. The tight end position is going to look a little bit different. And, you got Hunter Vanderpool, who's, more of a workhorse fullback, H-back type guy, DeAndre Golden, Aaron Fudge. There'll be a new face there. But, this spring was really focused on, the fundamentals and the install. And really the challenge was figuring out who those playmakers are going to be. And, at the wide receiver position, Mikey Robinson made a lot of plays for us at the end. He's gone. Miles Henderson is gone. And, but there's guys like John Santos, Seth Roll, that are back. And there's others that I know that are going to step up and stepped up there in the spring. So, certainly it's going to be a different cast of names probably scoring majority of the touchdowns. But for the most part, we hope not to skip a beat. We've had a great start to this offseason. Spring football was really good and continue into summer.
Defensively, it's kind of you do return some really nice talent. You have 3 all-Sun picks that are returning on defense, which are Tavis Black, Jalen Willis, and Wendell Feelord. The one thing I do notice when I'm looking up and down the stats from 2022 is that Black is one of the few defensive linemen that wasn't a senior last year. And so you've got a lot of rebuilding to do on what was a loaded defensive line from last year.
Yeah, absolutely. But you got the all-conference players coming back on all 3 levels. JT Black will lead that defensive line. Jay Will in the middle of the defense, and then Wendell Feelord. But, rebuilding the D-line has been a focus of for us in the offseason. And certainly there are some guys that have been waiting their turn. So we had a really productive spring. And offensively, we had a really tough time moving the football because there are some big bodies. But we feel like there's going to be some youth. There's going to be, some new guys coming in that are going to have to step up. Certainly, the continuity that we had at that position is not there anymore. And Coach Hiller is going to have his hands full coaching them up. But, he's ready for that task, and looking forward to that. But there are, on the back end, there's a lot of guys that have been in our system now going into the second spring, and we are ahead, and we should have great leadership, and expect to be on the championship level playing defense.
I know Sage got hurt really early. Did he get a medical red shirt, or has he moved on?
He's going to move on. Yeah, he's going to move on. He did a pro day, and he's still rehabbing his ACL, and he's going to move on to whatever's next for him. But he'll be missed. But certainly, when he went down, it gave some other guys an opportunity to develop. You look at guys like Trey Lubin and Daryl Livingston and Kensley Johnson. There's guys that have played a lot of football that are all going to be back, in addition to Wendell Feelord.
I had noticed that in the stats, and I went, I see what's going on there. And yeah, you are going to miss Sage Chen Young. I mean, we've been watching him since his daggum freshman year. Not only in the defensive secondary at safety, really helping out there, but as a returner, he was electric, and I think Feelord did a nice job stepping in there at returner and garnered an all conference nod for it. So I don't think you're going to miss a beat there either. So one of the things that I'm looking at and noticing as things shift a little bit in around the NAIA is the Sun Conference is still a little on the short side as compared to some of these other conferences. How do we get from a high level? The Sun Conference really developed into the powerhouse. Obviously it should be. You're recruiting Florida, Georgia, really fertile recruiting grounds. How does that really start to enrich the NAIA with more teams picking up football?
Yeah, I mean, I think that what you're going to see, and I think we saw it last year. St. Thomas has gone out there, and they beat St. X, and all of a sudden, the St. X is ranked like 5 or 7 spots ahead of St. Thomas, but I think people took notice to that because those were conversations that we had, and then they played Butler, and so I think St. Thomas is doing that again this year, and I think they're a really good football team and program on the rise, and Southeastern has a lot of tradition, and I think now they're going to have a great stability with Coach Wall, and they've got a great facility. I think that they're going to be really good, and there's Ave Maria can beat anybody on any given day. But when those dudes show up, they are really, tough because they're well coached and they're tenacious. And then I think there's other teams. Florida Memorial is very talented. Weber is drastically improved, in my opinion, over the several years. And Warner's working really hard, and Thomas is new. So I think in the South, we're going to have to work to get a second team into the playoffs, and I think we'll see that very soon. But I think us playing up Valdosta, Lindsey Wilson's top 5 team, Mississippi College is a D2 team. St. Thomas is playing up. I know that Southeastern is going to play Reinhardt. Southeastern's probably going to play another D2 team. So we're challenging ourselves here down in the South. And then I think on these rating calls, we just got to continue to, write and tell them the narrative of what is really happening down here and who we're playing. And, I think some of those teams in the Midwest or out West, should realize how strong the South is. And I think that there's going to be another team coming, to be honest with you, and we're all going to be fighting down here to get ourselves in the playoffs, but I'm hoping that we get 2 teams.
Yeah, and it will probably be sooner rather than later, especially with that 20-team playoff now being a reality. Trying to look, St. Thomas is going a little bit of a crazy route as well. I not going to question their methods over there. They seem to have worked so far, but they've scheduled Carroll, and that's a toughie over there as well. You've got Southeastern scheduling Savannah State. I mean, I would love to see a team like a Mobile pick up football and go. I think that would fit really well in that kind of Gulf Coast area, that the sun has really turned into. And I'll look forward to it because, I mean, everything the Sun Conference does, it seems to do well. I mean, whether it's baseball or basketball, no, nobody really wants to do poorly in the Sun Conference. I mean, there's a lot of pride in this conference.
Absolutely.
So, Coach, you know good and well that if you're not improving, if you're not continually striving to get better, that we're going to fall behind in all areas of life. It's just a fact of life. So, what area of your program, whether it be an on-the-field area or an off-the-field area, are y'all really focusing on in 2023?
Well, I think, taking on the responsibility of, with the expectation and standard being really, really high, and we're really trying to streamline our whole process of how we develop. But I want our guys to compete in every aspect of their life. And I want to do things better than we've ever done them. We're having a Zoom call tonight with our newcomers that we signed. I want to have the best summer we've ever had. I want to have the best training camp we've ever had. I want to do better things for our players in terms of nutrition in the summer, nutrition during training camp, and then our focus and just how we're teaching this football team, to get us to that next step. So our mindset, I'm certain there'll be some things in-house that we're going to try to enhance that are going to make maybe our locker room look a little bit better, or our stadium look a little better, or a game day atmosphere look a little bit better, or buying cameras. But really, I love the thought of just how can we get people in our building to look at things just a little bit differently and striving to be their best in everything that they're doing. And I've talked to Bryce Beasley about this the other day, and he said all those little habits, in his life, from waking up and making his bed and being 5 minutes early to class, and all those things are going to carry over into his approach in the quarterback meeting, into his approach in individual, quarterback drills, to team periods, and then to game day on Saturday. So really challenge this football team to be their best, and we're trying to do things better than we've ever have because we want more than what we've done.
Well, Coach, I know I'm excited. We talked before we went on with y'all coming up to Valdosta. I'm certain to make a trip up there, and can't wait to see what the Sun Conference and Keiser has to offer. And I know by virtue of me doing more work with Thomas, that I'll be able to see more Sun Conference football than ever before.
That's great, man, and we appreciate everything that you do. The efforts that you've put into this thing is so. I have so massive respect for you guys and the following that you've built, and what you're trying to do for this level of football is just trying to get this thing to the next level, and you guys are on your way to doing that. So we appreciate you.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of the NAIAFBALL Podcast presented by AdCraft USA. Be sure to contact them for all your custom apparel, merch, and uniform needs. If you enjoy the show, subscribe to the podcast as well as to our YouTube channel. Leave us a review if you're listening on Apple Podcasts. As always, if you'd like to support what we do, head over to patreon.com/NAIAFBALL and become a patron. We can't do what we do without our sponsors and listeners like you.